Good evening, distinguished veterans, family members, special guests from the town of Berlin, including Mayor Kaczynski, Representative Donavich, Berlin Board of Education members, administrators, teachers, and students. My name is Brian Benigni. I'm the superintendent of schools here in Berlin. I'm working on my 31st year in the town of Berlin. It's with great pride and pleasure that I welcome you to Berlin's 16th annual Veterans Day program. I remember when we first started this program 16 years ago, and the notion was that students can learn more being in school on Veterans Day than having a day off. And that one of the pieces that was important to us is a celebration within the community, and that's what we're here tonight to do. We honor you veterans in song, in words, and visual representations this evening. We extend to you our most sincere thanks for all that you have done for us and for our country. It is through your patriotic acts and courageous efforts that we still remain the land of the free and the home of the brave. Veterans Day is observed each year on November 11th. The significance of the date 11/11 helps us focus attention and importance on the purpose of Veterans Day, a celebration to honor Americans' veterans for their patriotism, love of country, willingness to serve, and sacrifice for the common good. Our schools have invited veterans to commemorate the day by participating in activities at our schools tomorrow morning and throughout the day, similar that we celebrate this evening. Please stand now for our Pledge of Allegiance, led by Yusuf Hasim, a grade 9 student at Berlin High School.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Berlin High School Choral Singers and McGee Sound Express will now perform the national anthem. Thank you for that wonderful performance. We would now like to bring up Commander Anthony Gagliardi from the Berlin VFW Post 10732 to say a few words.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'm excited to be here tonight back at Berlin High to honor our nation's veterans, and particularly the veterans of the town that I grew up in. I was born and raised here in Berlin, graduating from BHS in 2010. I attended college in Virginia where I participated in ROTC, earning a commission as a second lieutenant in the Army. Since then, I've had the opportunity to serve in various roles, home and abroad, in active duty and the reserves. Over these past 12 years, I've been lucky enough to serve with many amazing and dedicated men and women from all walks of life, such as recent high school graduates leaving home for the first time, to mid-30s master's degree holders looking for a change of pace in their life, and to career service members with 20 years of service or more. No matter what the background or reason for joining, these service members shared several fundamental qualities. They possessed courage, pride, determination, selflessness, dedication to duty, and integrity. All the qualities needed to serve a cause larger than oneself. While the service and sacrifices of our service members always deserve our thanks, Veterans Day allows us to take a moment to share gratitude and admiration for all of those who have served. Veterans Day, first called Armistice Day, was originally designated as a day to celebrate the end of World War I. The First World War ended November 11th, 1918, and the legislation that created Armistice Day was, quote, dedicated to the cause of world peace and to be hereafter celebrated and known as Armistice Day. As time went on and we engaged in further conflicts during World War II in Korea, veterans groups lobbied for a change. Rather than honoring the armistice and only those who served in World War I, the holiday would now honor all veterans from every war and conflict the United States had encountered. We've honored all our troops for their service and sacrifice ever since. Now Veterans Day is a time when we remind our fellow Americans to stop and say thank you to those who've served. Those simple words are important, but they are just the beginning. I encourage everyone here, whether civilian or veteran, to dig deeper. Ask questions, listen, take an interest in the experiences and sacrifices of those who allow us to live out our stories in the country that is safe and free. Doing so is more powerful than you know. I've been very fortunate as a member of the Berlin VFW and American Legion to have the opportunity to learn from and about so many veterans in their service in conflicts ranging from the Korean War through Vietnam, Desert Storm, and today's global war on terror. This has allowed me to truly learn about the experiences of our service members in these varying conflicts and the ways in which military service has changed or stayed the same over time. Many of these people didn't ask to leave their homes to fight on distant battlefields. Many didn't even volunteer. They didn't go to war because they loved fighting. They were called to be part of something bigger than themselves. They were ordinary people who responded in extraordinary ways during extreme times. They rose to the nation's call because they wanted to protect a nation which has given them and us so much. Over the course of our nation's history, millions of Americans have fought and died on battlefields here and abroad to defend our freedoms and way of life. Today, our troops continue to make the ultimate sacrifice, and even so, more Americans step forward to say, I'm ready to serve. They follow in the footsteps of generations of fine Americans that we are here to honor today. To my fellow veterans here today, thank you. Your service and sacrifice represent the best of us and the best of America. We salute you and appreciate the great costs that often come with serving. I'd also like to take a moment to acknowledge those families who have helped shoulder the weight of war and the burdens of sacrifice. To the mothers, fathers, spouses, and children of our military men and women, thank you. Your dedication and support is more important than you know. Being a military family member is full of trials and tribulations itself, having to deal with long days, inconsistent schedules, extended absences, and the constant worry about your loved one's well-being. My wife, Jess, unfortunately learned this the hard way. I was newly assigned to my first duty station at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, where she moved out with me, living away from her family here in Connecticut for the first time in her life. The first day I reported to my unit, I was informed that shortly we'd be deploying to Iraq for 9 months. Obviously not what you want to hear after moving to a new place, hundreds of miles away from your family and friends where you don't know anyone. But I'm happy to say she did great, embodying the strength needed to be a military family member, which millions of families continue to display each and every day. In closing, I'd just like to thank everyone here for taking the time to honor our nation's veterans. Without their service, we would not have the country we have today. Thank you and happy Veterans Day.
Thank you, Mr. Gagliardi, for your support and partnership. At this time, we would like to invite Mayor Mark Kaczynski to present a proclamation.
Good evening, everyone. Certainly my pleasure to be here tonight. On behalf of the town of Berlin, I want to thank and honor our veterans here today for their service and their sacrifice to our country, and certainly thank and honor your families for their sacrifice and support. So I have a proclamation on behalf of the town of Berlin and the town council. I'd like to read that to you now. Each year we pause to remember the men and women who have served selflessly in America's armed forces, sacrificing a great deal, including those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom and democracy. As veterans, they deserve the respect and appreciation of all our citizens. The citizens of the town of Berlin are encouraged to honor our servicemen and women, including those listed as missing in action or prisoners of war, and to remember those who have lost their lives in service to our country. So on Veterans Day, we publicly salute these sacrifices by providing programs such as this to pay tribute to our military veterans for all they have done and continue to do to make the world and our country a better and safer place. So be it therefore resolved, I'm Mark H. Kaczynski, Mayor of the town of Berlin, officially proclaim November 11th as our Veterans Remembrance Day in the town of Berlin, of course, which coincides with the national holiday. So thank you all. I just want to mention, too, before I call up Anthony, if you want to come back up here for a moment, I'll present you with the proclamation. I just wanted to thank our Berlin Veterans Commission, too. We're very fortunate in Berlin. We probably have the nicest Veterans Park, certainly in the state, maybe in the country, I don't know. But they've done a wonderful job. They've done a lot of hard work on it. And because of that beautiful park, we were honored, right, a year ago or so to get the Gold Star Memorial for obviously honoring the families of men and women of our military that have given the ultimate sacrifice to our country. So we're so very fortunate, and also the history with that park, we kind of preserve that history for future generations to remember it and not forget the sacrifices. So that's a wonderful gift we have in Berlin as well. So, Anthony, just want to present this to you. So, thank you for your service. And,
Thank you.
all right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kaczynski. The Berlin High School Choral Singers and McGee Sound Express will now perform Come Stand with the Brave.
Those who pledge
Thank you to the McGee and Berlin Chorus. Now can we please have the McGee Middle School Patriot Pen students come forward, please? Conducted nationwide, the VFW-sponsored youth essay competition gives students an opportunity to write essays expressing their views on an annual patriotic theme. More than 84,000 students participated last year in this contest. This year's theme is How Are You Inspired by America?
America is both the country I was born in and the country I plan to build my family in. This fairly new country is a place I feel safe to call home. My great-grandparents risked everything to come to this beautiful country, and it paid off. I am both inspired by American heroes and my family's own success stories. I am confident enough to say that America is the best country in the world. One person who greatly inspires me is George Washington and his army of farmers taking down the British. He beat the odds for independence, freedom, liberty, and all the other amazing things that America stands for, which shows me that even I could beat the odds and create my own success. Next, we have Abe Lincoln, someone who saw the injustices happening to African Americans and chose to do something about it. His levels of empathy were something we've never seen from a leader before him. His actions taught me to put others before myself. Another hero I hope to take after is Neil Armstrong. From a young age, Neil dreamed of flying, and when he turned 16, he got his pilot's license. From there, he worked tirelessly day after day, but his work paid off when he finally became the first man to walk on the moon. His actions teach me that good things happen to those who work hard and never give up. Finally, we have Barack Obama. Barack had a very rough childhood, with his father leaving when he was 2 years old and his mother attending college. So when he hit 10 years old, he had to be sent to live with his grandparents in Hawaii. He lived there until he graduated high school to go to college. He took political science and later went to law school. He did amazing things to help communities until he saw his true final goal, to be the president of the USA. His story shows that the only person that can decide your future is yourself, because despite his childhood being filled with hardships, he managed to persevere through and later inspires others to do as well. In conclusion, America and its heroes inspire me to take risks, put others before myself, try my best, and to persevere. These messages are why I'm proud to call myself an American citizen.
There are many words that come to mind when I think of the United States of America, such as liberty, independence, and freedom. By definition, freedom means the power to act or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. In our great country of the United States of America, you have the freedom to become whatever you desire. You can become an entrepreneur, a business owner, a scholar, an athlete, or a service member. My great-grandparents came to this country from communist Poland prior to World War II. They settled in New Britain, Connecticut in a tiny one-bedroom apartment. They were determined to create a new life for themselves. My great-grandparents were motivated by the idea that they had the liberty to do whatever they wanted to. They took advantage of this idea of freedom in every conceivable way possible. My great-grandfather began working in a mill called Fafner. He was thankful to have this job, but his true passion is America's national sport, baseball. In the evenings after work, he practiced baseball for hours. Eventually, he joined the ranks of a AA team for the Cardinals. After he retired from baseball, he wanted to continue to influence young children using his performance skills in the greatest American sport. He did so by developing his own business, which was the Wilkie League in New Britain, Connecticut. The Little League is still thriving today. Due to my great-grandfather's success in baseball, he and my great-grandmother saved enough money and bought a home in Mayoral, Connecticut. Part of their American dream had come true. During that same time, my great-grandmother insisted on not sitting still. She was very independent and motivated. Most women in the late 1940s and 1950s didn't work, nor were they business owners. In fact, only 10% of women worked at that time. My great-grandmother was called an artist of hair. She opened up her very own hair salon called Swirl & Curl. Another part of their American dream was complete. It was located in the front room of my house that I live in today. My great-grandfather passed away in 1953. My great-grandmother was left to raise my grandmother on her own. My great-grandmother's brother would eventually move into into this house when he returned from fighting in World War II. My great-grandmother's brother worked in the air traffic control towers during the war. Considering he only attended school until the 4th grade, this too was such an enormous accomplishment. My grandmother was raised with the theme of achieving her own American dream for herself. She was encouraged to study hard so that she could attend college. After she graduated, my grandmother accepted her first job at Stanley Works in New Britain, Connecticut. She was one of 6 women who were hired on opening day in 1962. She retired as a senior secretary to the president of Stanley Works. My grandfather was a scholar. He was also raised by Polish immigrants who ingrained in him the idea to be passionate and independent. He was the first person in the family to graduate with a master's degree in education and theater. My grandfather became a teacher and also ran the drama club in his school. He was diagnosed with cancer in the year after my mom was born in 1973. As sick as he was, he never missed a day of work, though. His dedication to his work was greater than his illness. My mother and my aunt were both raised with these same ideals. My grandmother often reminded them both that it is an honor to be part of this great country and that they should both do something that they are passionate about. My mom has followed in the footsteps of my grandfather and my great-great-uncle. My mom also graduated with a master's degree in education and taught for 20 years. She also enlisted in the Army because she wanted to serve this country and be a part of something that ensured everyone's freedom was protected. This past September, my mom has completed her 30th year of service to this country. I don't need to look too far to be inspired by America. I was raised by a family that was given every opportunity to achieve their American dream, and they did so with grit and with grace.
Thank you to both McGee students for sharing us how we can all be good Americans and show our appreciation for veterans. We would now like you to enjoy a video presentation prepared by students and staff at Berlin High School.
My grandfather, Charles Nimick, he served in the military as a Marine for the Vietnam War, originally drafted for the Army.
My mother, she was a sergeant in the Army National Guard. My grandfather, he was in the Navy. Both my uncles served in the Air Force.
My brother is in the Army and he's currently serving at Fort Liberty in North Carolina. I think it's important to recognize them because all the good things that they're doing, the service they're providing, and how they're volunteering to serve for us. I think it's important to honor those that served because the sacrifice they took and the risks they take, and my capstone currently is on mental health and the military and what they come home with. So them struggling with all of these issues, and we really need to honor that because they risked their lives.
I think it is important to honor veterans who served because they are the ones who gave the ultimate sacrifice. Their willingness to die for their country, to go serve for their country is incredibly brave and incredibly noble, and I think that they deserve all the recognition in the world for that.
It's like a day of remembrance for all who have served in the military or are in the military. It's like one of the few days of the year that they actually get recognition.
I think it's important because people make sacrifices for our country and they help us stay safe, and it's important to recognize everything that they do for us.
These people deserve to be recognized for their hard work. They put a lot of thought into it, and they just need to know that they're not alone and that people are behind them in every step of the way in recovery and just mental recovery or even abuse or substance abuse, because that unfortunately happens.
It's hard work, they're protecting their country, they're raising morals, but they're having a good time with each other as well. They always said everyone there was like a second family to them.
I think students and staff should keep in mind the impact that it'll have on their families when someone goes to serve. But despite this impact and despite the strain that can be caused from someone being hundreds, if not thousands of miles away from their home, it's still an incredibly noble and brave thing to do.
One thing I think people should keep in mind is honestly when you see someone in the military uniform, honestly just say thank you. Even if you don't know them, it helps.
The military is not going to always be a heroic success story. Unfortunately, my grandfather ended up passing away from his substance abuse and his PTSD after the military, and I think it's just important to recognize that it's not always going to be that hero archetype that you see in the movies. It's important to recognize their legacy and what they did.
I just want to thank all the veterans for their hard work, as everything they do sometimes goes unnoticed, and it's important to keep in mind how much they do for us.
Thank you for your sacrifices and everything that you have done for us.
Thanking all the veterans for what they've done for our country.
Thank you to the video production team for preparing that video. And now I would like to introduce Grace Foster for the first passage.
We will now share 3 reading passages that all connect to this year's theme of service. John Sample doesn't have much in common with those graduating from Berlin High School. The 99-year-old World War II veteran lived a full life, serving overseas in the military and caring for family while working as a crane operator. But this year, the class of 1941 member finally received his diploma. Sample was awarded his high school diploma at Berlin's Board of Education meeting last June. "I finally got it," Sample said. "It only took a couple years. It's a big honor. I had never had an honor like this. It feels beautiful." Sample received his high school diploma more than 80 years after dropping out of high school to serve his country in the U.S. Navy, a decision which saw him sail the world aboard the aircraft carrier USS Bogue. The veteran had been awarded the Presidential Unit Citation, American Theater Ribbons, Asiatic Pacific Ribbons, and World War II Victory Medal for his service in the war. After the war, Sample returned to Berlin to work on his family farm and also at the former Ferndale Dairy Farm. Sample later transitioned to a 40-year career as a crane operator for several companies, including Tyclon and New Britain. Sample's brother Harry, who passed away in 2017, also served the U.S. Army during World War II and received a Purple Heart. "I didn't realize until recently that he had to leave school to support his family and serve his country," said Andrew Coppa, Sample's nephew. "Like many of that generation, he did what he had to do and then came home. Now he's finally getting the recognition he deserves." Mr. Sample was recently honored at the Memorial Day Parade in his hometown of New Britain. Sadly, he passed away in December. His inspiring story reminds us that it is never too late to pursue goals and reach your full potential. I would now like to welcome out Minor Chowdhury to read Passage 2, Would You Let Me Go?
Growing up in San Antonio, Texas, Connie Rocha was the second of 6 siblings. She left school in the 8th grade to help provide for her family. Connie was 16 years old when the United States entered World War II, and like many women, she felt drawn to contribute to the war effort. Connie began to work at Kelly Field repairing airplanes as a sheet metal mechanic. After a year, she applied for a transfer to another repair depot in Hawaii, where she continued to work as an aircraft mechanic till the end of the war. From an interview she gave to NPR, she stated, "I came home one day and told my mom that there were signs all over, like Uncle Sam needs you, and I said, would you let me go? Because in the Hispanic home, a young girl did not leave home. With my mother's blessing, I signed up and was sent to Hawaii, and we were the only ship with women. They assigned me to a sheet metal department, and it was like an on-the-job training. I didn't know what a wrench was, nothing. The airplanes that were coming in were all torn up, and they needed for you to crawl into the plane. You could see blood all over, and the smell was horrid. I just couldn't stand it, and I went and told my supervisor I can't do it, and I will never forget what he told me. You take a deep breath and get back in there and just do your job, and I did. The minute the war was over, they said, thank you, bye, now you can go back to your home. And I said, the hell with that. You know, I already got the taste of what it's like to be an independent woman. I would now like to welcome Anusha Hashim to read the last passage.
Last year, the University of New Haven celebrated the dedication and service of 10 student veterans who served during a time of war and received the Connecticut Veterans Wartime Service Medal. Here are some of their stories. Jessica Guglielmo described her decision to join the U.S. Navy as the best decision she could have ever made. Her service was meaningful for a variety of reasons. It enabled her to travel the world, build leadership and teamwork skills, as well as be a part of a family. Army Major Kristen Grice, one of the first female Rangers and the first female infantry officers in U.S. history, grew up in nearby Orange, says that serving has been about helping people and being a part of a meaningful mission. She shared her own story and why she felt called to serve her country. Moved by the attacks on 9/11 and inspired by her grandfather, who served in World War II, Grice also volunteered with Habitat for Humanity in Bridgeport as a teenager. She says the experience helped her lead to a path of service. I like doing something that you could feel good about at the end of the day and serving other people, she stated. I realized I liked working on a team, I like working with my hands outside, and I like working for something meaningful and for other people. Ryan Noonan was born in Milford but raised in Fairfield. After graduating high school, he enlisted into the United States Marine Corps as a motor transport mechanic and earned a secondary military occupational specialty as a combat marksmanship coach. After being stationed in Jacksonville, North Carolina, he was deployed to combat zones in the Al-Anbar province of Iraq in 2007, to Fallujah, and again in 2009 to Ramadi. Ryan reflected on his experiences. I'm particularly reflective on Veterans Day as we look back not only on our own individual time in service, but that of veterans across the nation, said Noonan. The accomplishments and achievements of our nation's veterans are evident and do not end with military service. Just as the student veterans with us today show, military service helps shape who we are.
Good evening, everyone. As the band and choir perform the Armed Forces medley, we invite those in the audience who are our veterans to please stand when you hear your branch's song. The United States Army.
Over hill, over dale, we will hit the dusty trail, and the caissons go rolling along. In and out, hear them shout, Captain Archer rides about, and their caissons go rolling along. Then it's high, high, he in the field artillery. Shout out your numbers loud and strong, for where'er you go,
States Marines.
From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we will fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marines.
The United States Navy.
Anchors aweigh, my boys, anchors aweigh. Farewell to college joys, we sail at break of day, 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 day. Our last night ashore, bring to the foe. Until we meet once more, here's wishing you a happy voyage home.
The United States Coast Guard.
We're always ready for the call. We place our trust in Thee. Through surf and storm and howling gale, I shall our purpose be. Semper Paratus is our guide, our fame and glory too. To fight, to save, to fight and die, my Coast Guard, we are for you.
The United States Air Force.
Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, so to meet our thunder. Attaboys, give her the gun. Down the dust, study a flame from under. Off on one terrible course. We live in fame, we're down in flame. Ain't nothing will stop the U.S. Air Force.
This concludes our program for this evening. I'd like to thank everyone for coming, but I'd like to also give a special thanks to Jeff Kronk, who is our Social Studies Department head here and our supervisor for 612 for his coordination of the program. Jeff shared with me this is his 10th year coordinating this program. So if we could have a round of applause for Jeff, thank you. And in my years of all being here for all 16 years, special thank you to Mr. Boyle on the vocals, directing the vocals, and Mr. Dresco, and they both sounded wonderful tonight, so thank you again. And last but not least, to you veterans, thank you at this time for all you've done. Thank you to all those that serve today and protect this wonderful country. The pride that we have for this country and the pride that we all should have needs to continue. And thank you all for being here this evening. Hope you have a great evening, and thank you very much.